To those of you joining us today, thank you for watching the Woburn Spotlight. I'm your host, Tyler Gates, here to bring you some positivity by talking to those in town making big strides for the greater good. Today I'm really fortunate to have with me Cami Baker, author of Mingle to Millions, here with me. Cami, thanks for joining us.
I couldn't be more excited.
I'm ecstatic for today's
interview.
interview.
Fabulous, fierce, and on fire to be with you.
You always are. You wake up fabulous, fierce, and on fire, I'm sure, though.
Well, you know, when people ask you all day long, how are you? You might as well have an affirmation that you can say that makes you excited, that gets... Every time I say that, people either laugh or they say, wow, I wish I was like that, and it creates conversation. And as a communication expert, to be able to create conversation immediately is a beautiful thing.
Saying it, like you said, kind of lifts your own spirits. If you kind of go into the day thinking that, feeling that, that's just what your day gives you.
Well, as a matter of fact, when people say, how are you? I say, I am fabulous, fierce, and on fire, and thank you for allowing me to say that one more time today.
Interesting. I hadn't heard that one just yet.
Yeah. Well, you know, when people say I'm good, or I'm fairly well, or I'm getting by, who wants to be good, man? I want to be fabulous.
So I know a little bit about you. We've been colleagues, friends now, call it for a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
But tell everyone else a little bit about Cami Baker. Where you've come from, where you're headed.
Well, you know, over the last few years, I've really repositioned myself as the Mingle to Millions maverick with the book, Mingle to Millions.
Yes, please show it off.
The Art and Science of Building Business Relationships and Mastering Referrals. Guys, this is the best calling card. It is the best. People will say to me, so how's your book doing? It's doing great because it is the best way to get your foot in the door. It's the best way to show authority, to show credibility, to have clients want to work with you. I highly recommend having a book, especially one that's nonfiction and actually teaches something. Mm-hmm. So the book, Mingle to Millions, The Art and Science of Building Business Relationships and Mastering Referrals, all goes back to a couple of years ago when you and I met. Mm-hmm. So I was speaking on a stage, and it's another one of the fun things that I like to say. Networking doesn't work. It wastes time with random activity. But net webbing, which I talk about in the book, leverages time through planned strategy. So the way that you and I met, I was on a stage speaking, instant credibility, instant authority. It's just, you know, people who speak, people who are authors get more respect than doctors do a lot of times. And so you and I met. You're a great looking guy, very professional, hold yourself so well. We hit it off just famously. And so that's why we're here today, because net webbing works. And I got into this material from years and years of, I was in real estate, and then I was in network marketing, and I took classes and had mentors and read books. I walked on fire with Anthony Robbins. I've seen Zig Ziglar speak. I've invested tens of thousands of dollars in 1 year on coaching and mentoring because I had to fix myself, Tyler. I mean, you know, about 16 years ago, you know, I share the good, the bad, and the ugly of my story because, you know, coming from an alcoholic background, being a single mother, living in a mobile home and having food stamps, you know, when people say to me, oh, I don't know enough people, or I haven't lived here long enough, or I don't have the money to go to events, or I don't, you know, I don't have daycare. Look, I get it. I've said all of it too. And if I can do this, anybody can.
What a story. And your entrepreneurial spirit goes back farther than 16 years. I know one of the first times we met, you shared a funny story about you. What was it? Selling bubblegum of some capacity. Please tell the story. Yeah.
Well, so I've just always had this mindset of how do you monetize that? I always, to this day, I'm always asking people, how do you monetize that? How do you make money from doing that TV show? How do you make money from that networking event? So I'm 8 years old and I'm in school and I had gum, other kids had money. They were always bumming a piece of gum and I thought, well, I'll give them gum and they give me money. So I ended up buying big packs of gum, and you know, I get the big things of Big Red back in the day. There's 10 packs in there, and at the time it was $1 for 10 packs. So I'd sell the 10-cent pack for 25 cents a piece, and then I leveraged that up. And my brother was always broke as a joke. So when he wanted to borrow money, I'd loan him money, but then I'd hold what was valuable to him. I didn't know it was called collateral at the time. Right?
It's brilliant.
So I ended up holding all this collateral and making interest and loan sharking, but it's just always the way that my mind has worked. You know, to me, what seems so natural, like why wouldn't you think it? Why wouldn't you? why wouldn't you be making money, at school? And sometimes I'll share that story with people and they're like, oh yeah, I'm the one that had the lemonade stand. What about yourself? Were you always entrepreneurial?
I had a knack for working hard. I grew up in the middle of nowhere, Maine, so I worked on an old farmhouse. So I just realized the figure of, okay, you show up, you work hard, and you add value to the person paying you, and they pay you. So I didn't have as much of an entrepreneurial spirit, but I learned from a very young age how to work. So.
Well, it's interesting you say that. You show up, you work hard, and they pay you. I've learned over the years, and I don't know what mentor I heard this from, but when you raise the value of what you're providing, you raise your income. Mm-hmm. So when I owned my bar, when I was 23 years old, I owned a bar for 7 years. Somebody came in and they wanted a Budweiser, it was $2. The value of what I brought to the table was a beer for $2, mm-hmm. But now the value that I bring when I'm helping someone to rebrand, reposition, market themselves in a different way. People always think it's about networking or net webbing, as I call it, and it certainly is. Mm-hmm. However, it's much bigger than that. How are you being seen and received in the marketplace? If people saw you as the leader mm-hmm. and the charismatic professional that you want to be seen as, what is that worth to you? What is the value to double, triple, 10 times, 100 times your income, your impact on the world? I like to say we communicate, then we conversate so we can collaborate to create the income, influence, and impact that we're wanting to have on the world. And so as I have elevated the value that I bring to the table, so have my value, my worth, mm-hmm. the investment that people make to work with me.
Most
so
certainly.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting concept there.
Yeah.
Interesting concept. So net webbing, let's dive into that a little bit more, because I feel like we could probably spend a whole day just on that topic, right? So just kind of, where did you come up with initially, I'm sure it wasn't more so the name versus the activity. You were doing the activity, did the name follow, or how did that all kind of come to light?
Actually, I was blessed by a mentor of mine to give me the word net web, because mm-hmm. Originally I was going to call it net play. We are net playing.
I think it was net play when we met, actually, and it had transitioned.
It was, and the difference between network and net play was fun,
encouraging, yeah,
and it was engaging.
Yeah.
Take the work out of network and net play, etc. And I actually was trademarking that word, and actually put in all the paperwork. Long story short, I found out somebody else had trademarked it.
Fair enough.
At the time, in my book, I had already written the book, and it was just before it was coming out in print. And I called my editor and I said, we got to change it. And it wasn't just changing a word, now it was changing a bit of the concept.
Yeah.
But the beauty of it is that when this mentor of mine said, hey, I'm going to give you a gift today. She said, it's my birthday, but I was given this download in my sleep last night. Do you want it? I said, sure. She said,
yes, please.
She said, NetWeb. I thought, I don't get it. But very, very quickly, it all fell into place because of the analogy that I use in the book. You've seen the archetypes at every event you've gone to. I've seen them tens of thousands of times. People that are watching, if you've ever been to a networking event, you've seen the spraying of the cards, the spraying and praying, the repelling, spraying nature of the skunk. You've seen the, can I have your card? 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 The people that are squirreling those stacks of cards in their pocket and in their desk, etc. They're the squirrels. Mm-hmm. The sharks. Dun, 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 dun. Will you buy my product? Will you set an appointment with me? Will you join my business? Will you sign my contract? And the whole time you're talking to them, they're looking around the room looking for the next best thing. Mm-hmm. So the net web just came so beautifully together because of the spider analogy and because of the worldwide net web. Yes. So it's not just about face-to-face, belly-to-belly interaction. People will say to me, well, I do most of my networking or my communicating online. Okay, great. Let's talk about the net web. What does the spider do? If we don't want to be the shark or the squirrel or the skunk, the spider is very strategic. The spider doesn't just show up and see what happens. She or he places those contacts, those web, and they interact and they cross over. Let me introduce you to someone. Let me go to this event specifically. Let me get a speaking engagement over here. Let me learn the language and the body language and the personalities and the tonality and how to communicate and bridge the humanity gap. So as we are doing all that, we create that web, that net web, as we are net webbing. Mm-hmm. When the spider has that web, what does she do? She sits back and she waits for that which she wants to come to her. And so that's the analogy that actually really came really clear for me. So net play was fun, and it was fun and frisky and playful. Net webbing is strategic. It's business savvy. It's okay, let's create this net web, and it's going to take effort, but so doesn't networking. Let's take the work out of networking and net web to build our network.
Your mentor, it was truly a great day that she thought of that or had that downloaded overnight. And but that fits you from what I know about you. That was, you're very strategic. When I met you at that event, like you had said, you reach out to people knowing they're going to be there. Do you mind touching on that a little bit? Just kind of the process that you go through before net webbing or getting out there and networking?
Thank you for asking. I do everything in threes. I've become the alliteration person that does things in threes. So I'll say it and then I'll explain it.
Yes.
There is setting the intention, then there's paying attention, and creating the retention. So before a networking event, and by the way, networking events aren't just the chamber or the women's group. Networking, we're doing it right now. You know, networking can be standing in line at Starbucks. Mm-hmm. It's not something you put on your calendar. It's actually, I was speaking with someone earlier today who was having a real hard time with the word network. I said, you know what? Let's call it communicating. Just call it communicating. Communicating with another human being. So before we communicate in any fashion, let's set the intention. What is our intention here? Whether we're getting on a stage or getting ready to have a conversation or sending an email or posting on Facebook, anything, what is your intention with this? Be really intentional about it. And that could get into anything, even as fun as, you know, if you are going to a net webbing event, when you get there early. Get there early, offer to help out, offer to volunteer. I've made hundreds of thousands of dollars, I'm not even kidding, from getting to an event early. Because getting there early, I have had time to hang out with the movers and shakers, to pick their brain, to learn how to set up an event. I know how to set up the chairs and the music. I know how to negotiate with the venues. I've gotten mentorship from $1 million people because of getting there early, and because they want people at a higher level on the food chain, for lack of a better word, want to hang out with people that are contribution and giving and helping and serving. So that's just one part of it. So setting the intention, but then at said event or during said communication, let's pay attention. How are we being received and perceived? What questions are we asking? Are we asking everybody the same old, what do you do? Which is like fingernails on a chalkboard to me. Or are we being memorable and masterful and meaningful in our conversation? Is our body language something that is putting out, I got it going on, man. The universe is mine, it's yours. Let's share it together, let's collaborate, right? So how are you paying attention how people are receiving and perceiving you? Are you looking at their body language? Are they looking at their watch the whole time because what you're saying is not resonating? Are they making eye contact? Are you deliberately keeping eye contact so that they know that you are present with them? Like paying attention. And then the creating retention could also be looked at as the follow-up or the follow-through.
Okay.
Because you know, you have only been to 10% of the ones I've been to yet at such a young age, but of the thousands of events even you've been to, people don't follow up.
You are correct.
They leave with those cards. Even when I say to somebody, I need what you have, here's my card. I need a headshot. I need insurance. I need...
It's crazy, you think, sometimes. Yeah, absolutely. There's
Shocking.
I need moments where you don't get a response.
And they won't even... So,
That's
much less bringing home a stack of cards of people you don't even remember. Am I going to... What did they say to me? People get so overwhelmed. I always say, focus on quality versus quantity. I'd much rather have 3 conversations with people that will remember me, I remember them, we built rapport, I actually want to follow up and follow through because we were having an interesting conversation, right? As opposed to 30 cards and you're like, well, I'll move them over here and I'll call them later, well, and I'll do it next week. No, set the intention, pay attention, create retention by actually following up, actually giving something of value. I like to play the game of what can I give of value first? In other words, I'm not waiting for them. First of all, I know they're never going to contact me. You and I are very 1% of people who actually reach out. But I like to actually give them something of value. Hey, here's a link to another event that I think would be great for you. You know, hey, you mentioned in our conversation that you love sushi. Here's a link to my favorite sushi restaurant. Hey, you know, if it's somebody that you really want to get in front of, hey, I just bought you a Groupon for a free skydive lesson, whatever it is. I mean, that might be the best $200 you ever spent if that's a CEO who you want to get your foot in the door and get a $10,000 contract with. In other words, you know, creating retention of the resources, relationships, and revenue that rock. So that's how that all plays out. It's really simple though when you think about it. Okay, let's set intention, let's pay attention, and create retention.
Seems simple.
But
this is why you have a job and do as well as you do for helping people that need assistance with this.
Well, and one way to do all of that is through cause marketing.
Let's talk about cause marketing, something I'm very passionate about. That's what we got back together most recently and talked about was the new chapter of your book, Cause Marketing.
The new chapter, as a matter of fact, yes, this is the second edition, page 107, and actually has some pictures in it this time. But cause marketing, when you think about cause marketing, a cause is an organization or something that you are passionate and on purpose about, and partnering and pairing that with your profit and your profession. So,
okay.
If you write a check to an organization, thank you so much. That's called philanthropy. Love ya. Great. Thank you for doing that. If you go and clean cages at the Humane Society or dip soup at the soup kitchen, that's called volunteering, and that's awesome. We need millions more like you. This is about taking those things that we're doing and being strategic, working smarter instead of harder. Bringing all of that together with your business. I've got a whole PowerPoint now about cause marketing that shows a couple of photos of my daughter with me at these events. So there's one photo of her at 6, 7 years old, and then there's another photo 10 years later when she's 15 or 16.
That's gotta be something to see.
Well, it's fun, and I didn't even realize, until I put it all together. I'm like, oh look, there's my poo nut. She's with me at the beach doing this great event with the Boys and Girls Club. Bringing these inner city kids to the beach. But here's the thing about that event. I could have done that all by myself. As a real estate agent, I could have foot the bill for all of that. But I wanted to be smarter than that. First of all, bringing 30 inner city kids to the beach requires getting help from the Boys and Girls Club because they have the liability waivers and the bus and everything. But the beach balls and the lunch that we provided and the t-shirts with CamiBaker.com and then Wells Fargo and all these other companies on it, the deal was even though the event was 2 or 3 months out and I could have just foot the bill, brought the kids to the beach, and that would have been great, it gave me a reason, a way to set intention, pay attention, and create retention of all these relationships that I wouldn't have had if I hadn't have gone to the golf club and said, hey, real estate people, this is what I'm doing. I need sponsors. I need people to donate for the t-shirts. I want your logo on my shirt with these kids, and we're going to have the media there, et cetera, et cetera. So this is a great way to network or net web, is by having a cause, but not keeping it to yourself, actually using it as a way to market your business. Cause marketing.
And you're making a lot more impact. One person can only make so much impact, right?
That is so true. And when I first came up with the name Mingle to Millions, in my ego mindset, I thought, mingle my way to millions of dollars. But the fact was, it was something so much bigger. Because, now that I'm, being interviewed so much more, it's about the impact that I'm having on, people will say to me, well, what's your cause? What is your cause? My cause is whatever my client's cause is. Right now, I sell my book, I do a speaking engagement, I give a part of the proceeds to Hero Pups because one of my clients, that's what he's passionate about. But at the end of the day, my cause is helping all of these people with causes to go out and do what they do to help all of them. Yeah. So I mingle my way to millions by helping the few people that are strategic and smart enough to want to use that as a way to build their business. And some people are really funny and hung up on, well, I don't want to pat myself on my back, and I don't want to toot my own horn, and I want to keep it anonymous. Look, there's only so much you can do as an individual. There's only so much you can do. When you let people know what you're doing, not only do you bring more coats to the coat drive, not only do you raise more money at the car show, but you are allowing and giving people the opportunity to be a contribution too.
You don't know what everyone's passionate about unless you talk about it, right?
You don't.
Somebody you know very well might be just as passionate about delivering coats in the winter as you are, right? And so it's powerful just to talk about it, I can only imagine.
That's one of my stories. In the PowerPoint, I actually helped a business owner last November in Washington State who was doing a coat drive. Not a coat drive, he was bringing coats to a homeless shelter. And because of the nature of his business, he literally had thousands of coats already. He's an auctioneer. But instead of just bringing those coats, we let it be known to past clients, current clients, people we wanted to do business with, other businesses in the area, etc. Hey, we're meeting on this day, we're doing this thing. And there were other people that pulled up and opened up the trunk of their car and had 50 more. There was a woman who knitted all year long. She knits mittens and scarves, and she showed up to give them away. So the thing was, not only did we help more people, but we gave other people the opportunity to feel good too. And when you're smart enough to take pictures of it and put it on social media and let people know you're doing it, look, it's just good business sense. And next year when he does it again, now it can become an annual thing.
Yeah.
And it can get bigger and bigger. Maybe next time the media comes. Maybe next time he has a bouncy house for kids. Like, maybe next time, different restaurants come and feed them, etc. So the point is that when you are able to market your cause, you are just doing that much more good for it was win-win-win.
Wow, net webbing, cause marketing. We need more show time to talk about any of it and all of those things. So that's fantastic. I think a lot of this will be in the book.
It's all in the book.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah. It's all in the book except for the strategy part. So whatever it is that you are passionate about, whatever business you're in that you want to be seen and heard and received as the expert in, all of that, these are the building blocks, and it's the mindset, and it's the idea, it's the concept.
Okay.
But when it comes to actually strategically planning, okay, how do I apply this to my business, to my cause, to how I do this? That's where I come in. I can help you with that.
Fantastic. I know one of the most inspirational things we have ever talked about that you left with me was raise your hand. Whenever there's opportunity, raise your hand. And I kind of wanted to revert back to it, change gears a little bit, because every time we chat, I get great advice. And so I wanted to see if there's a couple of things, little tidbits that you could just leave our viewers with, things like that you left me with that have dramatically changed my life. This is the reason, or that statement right there is the reason I do this show, actually. So that's a good point to make.
Aww.
So I raised my hand, and I always continue to think about that as I build my career. Any other tidbits like that you could kind of leave our viewers with?
I'm asked this question all the time, as I'm sure most people that get interviewed are, and the first thing that always comes to my mind is something that is free, is something you can do right now. Anybody can do it, and you can take it on many different levels. Change your playgrounds and your playmates. Who are you hanging out with? Who are you spending your time with? What are you listening to on the radio? What are you reading? What are you watching on YouTube? What input are you taking in from your Facebook? I've had people say, I don't do Facebook because it's negative and it's people complaining and it's that. Not on my Facebook. Go to my Facebook right now. You won't find politics, you won't find religion, you won't find the F-bomb, you won't find, people that have been brutally murdered. All the people that are in my tribe are uplifting and positive quotes and inspirational things and go get them and add a girl and all that kind of stuff, because I changed my playground and my playmates a long time ago. When I was drinking every day and laying on the couch at 8 o'clock in the morning, finishing the drink from the night before and contemplating suicide, I was hanging out with a different kind of people. As a matter of fact, I wasn't even hanging out with anybody because I had gotten so isolated because I isolated. But when I decided, you know what, I've got to fix myself. When I picked my daughter up from school that day, and when she was looking at me with those little eyes at 2 years old, and I could smell the alcohol in my own breath, and I realized I had to fix it, I changed my playground and my playmates. And I found someone who had already done that which I wanted to do so that they could help me. So the advice is change your playgrounds and playmates, and don't get advice from people who haven't done that which you want to do. People that are telling you that won't work, that can't work. You know, I've got a guy I'm working with right now who's a real estate attorney. Great real estate attorney, very respectable occupation. People love that. Well, all of his friends are telling him, you can't do this, you should stay with that, stay with that, stay with that. Well, he wants to do something else in the entrepreneurial world, in the investing world, etc. So, you know, for him to make that transition, he's going to change his playground and playmate and start hanging out with people who support him and tell him, yes, you can do it, of course you can do it, and here's how you can do it, because I've already done it.
That's exciting. That is exciting. Starting to shift that mind frame, and like you said, change your playground, change your playmates, and the mind frame, I'm sure, follows.
Every time, I'm sure that you've seen that yourself. I'm sure that you know, you can tell. All you have to do is talk to the 5 people someone hangs out with the most, and you know who they are, don't you?
Yeah, usually. Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So that would be the first thing, including what are you reading, what are you listening to in the car, you know, what are you watching? People will say, well, I don't have time for, you know, big rah-rah seminars. That's not my style. Nobody said that. Just don't watch the news every night and get bogged down with politics. Don't, you know, if you're watching YouTube, take 5-10 minutes to watch inspirational stuff. I love sometimes just to put in inspirational video, bam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are, that's a great point, inspirational videos. Out of curiosity, any high up on the recommendation list for must-read books for entrepreneurs, people making transitions?
You know, there's all kinds of classics that we hear about, and there's always something new coming out. Of course, one of the books that
I was just going to say something new. Yes, yes.
Of course, my book. One of the books that there's two really simple reads that totally transform my mindset. One of them is Price Pritchett, U Squared. U Squared, the letter U or the word U with a little 2 on it, U Squared. And this, it's a pamphlet. It's like 40 pages. You can literally read it in 3 hours. But it was something that was so transformational for me when I was starting out, when I was newly sober, when I wasn't ready to read a whole book, much less one that thick or with complicated words. This is a really easy read, by the way. I think you've read it, so you probably know that. But Price Pritchett was very easy. It helped me to understand U Squared. People say, oh, you got to take baby steps. It doesn't say that. It says quantum leaps, baby.
Go for it.
You don't have to take baby steps. Step off that cliff. You're not going to go splat.
No, you'll find
you'll
realize
wings.
You didn't go splat, and you'll try again.
Right. You'll find your wings, and that's why I've stepped into being a repositioning expert, because I know when I'm ready to shift something else, all I have to do is be, and I say all I have to do, like that's so simple, but we have to raise our hand, right?
Yes.
But we have to be that which we say we are, so that we will do what that person would do, and they will have what they would have. Be, do, have is a concept I talk about too. But the other book is T. Harv Eker, Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. Secrets of the Millionaire Mind has been around for 20 plus years. He's got seminars and things now. But one of the things I took from that book, I'll share, he says that people who are rich versus people that are poor. Now, don't get hung up on the morals. Doesn't have to be about money if you got to hang up about money. Rich and poor could be about, hey, I'm poor in relationship with men. Like, I keep having relationships that don't last. Somebody who's been married for 20 years and is very happy is very rich in relationship. So, rich versus poor mindset. So, people who have a poor mindset think an either or. Well, if I had the choice of being rich or being a good person, I'd be a good person. Like, there's a distinction. You can only be one or the other. Like, being poor has more of a value. A rich person will think in all-encompassing. Well, when I can be rich and a good person, look at all the good that I can do. And it seems like a really simple concept, but it shifted for me. I remember reading it on an airplane thinking, I don't have to choose between rich or good. I can be rich and good, and look at all the good I can do when I have all those resources in relationships and revenue. That rock, you can put it all together and make so much more yumminess. So Secrets of the Millionaire Mind gives us those little tweaks of thought that are really simple but so transformative.
Well, thank you for that. I think we've gotten a lot of good tips, a lot of good advice in the last 30 minutes. Anything that you'd like to leave our viewers with today? A little bit about your book, a little bit about you. Please feel free to speak what's on your mind.
You know, I am just passionate about helping people to be that which they say they are. Help them step into being it. I see people all the time, well, this is what I used to do, and what I want to do, and what I could do, and what I'm thinking about doing. Not what you're thinking about doing, what you are doing. Not what you will do, who you are right now. And that's what I do with the positioning with people. So whether it's an individual, whether it's a company, whether it's, you know, a whole business that wants to be repositioned in the marketplace, well, who is it that you're wanting to be seen as? Because I can help you with that. I've done it myself numerous times, and in a short period of time, very short period, within a 2-month period, I can chameleon and change into something else if that's what I want to do, and I can help other people to do that too. And it's all about being, just totally owning it, like own it from head to toe, who it is that you say you want to be, because when you be that person, you will do what they will do, and you will have what they will have.
Well, thank you for that advice, and thank you, Cami, for coming on today. I really appreciate you coming on.
I'm so glad you raised your hand.
I raised my hand, and look at us now.
Yay!
So thanks.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching today's show with Cami Baker, fierce, fabulous, and on fire. Remember, we all have one life to live. Let's all do our part. I'm your host, Tyler Gates. Join us again next time for another episode of the Woburn Spotlight.